after becoming so engaged with the Gender and Development Initiative, I became the volunteer leader for the Gender and Development Initiative. So I conducted trainings for the staff and for volunteers as well, and we just built a whole slew of resources for all volunteers to access how to build gender awareness curriculum and how to implement that, not just in curriculum, but in projects as well. And it's still going strong, it's still sustained, and every year we have a Gender and Development Initiative meeting for the entire Peace Corps China initiative. So most of my days in my little town of Bay Bay, which actually we have somebody here today who actually graduated from that university, I spent my time down by the river with my students, and we had great conversations about anything that you can think of. I also spent most of my time either in this one town of Bay Bay or Yunyang, which is a small town, a relocation town near where they built the Three Gorges Dam. The community was relocated to this small town here, which is where I also worked. And this is the beautiful Southwest University. And the river, where I spent a lot of my time. So after Peace Corps, again, I'm still engaged with this community development and really trying to bring some sort of discourse and participation in development, because what I saw was a lack of participation in the actual decision-making process. I joined AmeriCorps and I worked for Keys Service Corps. AmeriCorps is a domestic development program. There are also some AmeriCorps alumni here as well, besides me. My specific program was called Keys, Knowledge to Empower Youth to Success. We either worked in schools or we also worked with nonprofit organizations. I worked has anybody here been to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Are you from Pittsburgh? No. Okay. Pittsburgh is, 2 years ago, I think, it was labeled USA's most livable city. And it's interesting, yeah. No. Yeah, that's what it was labeled. But anyway, so Pittsburgh is really interesting because it has this history of being a coal mining city. And back when the U.S. was mining for coal, this industry was big in Pittsburgh, and it was extremely polluted. After the industry began to shut down, they invested a lot of money cleaning up the pollution and kind of revitalizing the city in a lot of ways, because a lot of people moved because the jobs weren't there anymore and the industry wasn't there. And Pittsburgh has gone through so many changes, and it's a very dynamic city where a lot of changes are actually happening now, but not involving the people who should be involved in the change. So I worked at a school called Peabody High School with other nonprofit local organizations that worked with education and youth. And the school was closing at the end of the year, and a lot of the kids that were in the school knew that the school was closing. Everybody knew the school was closing, and didn't know where they were going to be next year. And honestly, the kids that were left there, probably a lot of them were on the verge of dropping out after the school closed. So a lot of initiatives were poured into this school the last year it was open to kind of make sure that the transition happened, and that the transition to a new school and to new communities was going to be participatory. Because at this point it wasn't. And here's Pittsburgh. And I'm going to show you a very short video, and so you can get an idea of what was going on in these neighborhoods of the east side of Pittsburgh. The neighborhoods are East Liberty, Larimer, Garfield, and Homewood. And all of these neighborhoods are being gentrified and kind of redeveloped and revived in a way. But this change is, as we'll see, is not happening in a participatory manner. The citizens are certainly not informed of the process or even really taking part in it as much as they want to. And so we'll get to how I intervened with this, but I do want you to kind of see where this is starting. And actually the video that I embed is rocky, so I pulled it up on my computer and I'm just going to play it from there. And oh, hold on. I have to plug it in so you can hear it. So, before I go any further with this, I met an amazing guy named Chris Ivey, who was a local documentary filmmaker. And he started documenting these changes in these neighborhoods and interviewing all of the residents, and really started to build an amazing base of participatory analysis of what the residents are actually going through and what they're thinking about this change and wanting to be involved. And so this is an example of one of the interviews.
Hopefully this revitalization plan will include community input, where the current residents that were here, and that's a good question, where are they right now? Where are they displaced? Where did they go? And are they going to have access to resources like they have been when they lived in East Liberty?
I mean, folks here, you know, and we have been able to change because that's the nature of how people are. You're able to change and sustain yourself to move on. But for, as you just mentioned, you know, for a long time the area was neglected, and the infrastructure and monies needed to make a neighborhood, a community grow was not given to those communities. And now that the community is trying to revive itself and elevate itself to a new area, the people who stuck it all out, the people who were there when there was nothing here, are now being forced out and asked to go somewhere else while the neighborhood is being revisited and revived. And they're doing that and saying, well, once we do this, you can come back. But how can you come back when now you have raised the financial commitment to what is needed to come back, but you haven't elevated those folks along with what you've done. So in the long run, they are left out of the equation when it comes back to benefiting from where they have not benefited.
All right. So I wanted to basically show that, to get into how the organization that I work with and myself intervened with the situation of non-participatory community revitalization in the east end of Pittsburgh. And I hope you got a sense of what the community is feeling about this revitalization from that video. So what we see is rapid changing urban development and even the population structures of the east end of Pittsburgh. There are many housing and living disputes. When I talk about gentrification, I'm talking about a lot of big box companies coming in, and family-run businesses eventually can't afford the rent and are pushed out of the neighborhood. So what I did was co-taught a class called Local Civics and Community Engagement. We worked with youth, specifically 9th graders and 12th graders. And in doing that, we're actually hoping that the 12th graders would act as mentors to the 9th graders as well. And so, like I said, the school was closing at the end of the year, and everyone had doubts about where their future was going to be, not only theirs, but the future of their community and their neighborhoods. And so, by the end of this whole year-long process, I worked with a number of nonprofits and the students to design a book and get a book published about how they were feeling about the history of their neighborhood and where they thought it was going and their place in that neighborhood. And so a very, very short video about youth engagement with that is only a couple minutes.
Like Mr. Benson was saying in the video, this redevelopment in the cities and stuff, this started back when they did the Home Depot down on Highland Avenue. When they tore down all of that stuff down there. And now they're bringing it back up now. It's not right. It's like they wait until they put something, a bigger opportunity in place, like that Bakery Square over there. They bring that out now, and they see, oh, that's going to bring more business, a different type of people to the area. So now we got to fix it up and make it look better so that when they come down here, maybe they'll say, oh, we can live down here too, and change the whole mindset of what it was 10 years ago. Just like you said.
How do you feel?
I don't like it, because why push us out of here? We're the ones that brought up the neighborhood from the jump. And just because you see it's coming down now and you want to bring money into it and people want to come in like closer to the city instead of being on the suburbs, what are they going to do, move us out? I don't like that.
They're tearing down everything. They're closing down schools. Where are you going to ship these kids now? You're closing down Peabody and Homewood. You're going to put them in Shenley. But you need to move those kids. That school's too small to renovate for new things. What are you going to do to East Liberty? You're moving people out to bring new things in when nobody else knows what it's really like out here, what it really looks like.
They don't put us into their car.
Okay. So basically, what we ended up doing was working with the community and the children to write a book. And I'm going to pass it around. I'm not going to explain it too much, but we conducted oral history interviews. We invited local historians as well as community influential people to participate in this book project. The students helped design and structure the book, and I guided them along for the entire year, trying to keep them motivated, and different events as well to publish the book. So I'll pass that. And after this entire process, I decided it's time to go to grad school. And so here I am today trying to work specifically with gender, human and development, and security. My time in China has certainly influenced me with working with human trafficking prevention programs as well as reintegration, and to focus on participatory research distribution and gender mainstreaming. And so when I talk about security, community security, it's kind of through these three different participatory approaches with community engagement, and eventually coming to equal access to justice and education, especially with raising that to a level of consciousness for all humanity. I'm not going to get into trafficking too much, but what I am going to say is that what I hope is that there needs to be an international migration law to protect people and to allow people to move in post-conflict situations and in situations where citizenship really becomes a battle. And so that's kind of the frontier that I'd like to engage with and with development, and hoping to bring community engagement with that.